I really enjoyed talking to Helen today, and just a lot of things she said really got me thinking about how to help my adult children and how to help them build confidence and take that next step to just be successful in a career, but also just successful and happy in life, which is what we all want for our kids.
Yeah, inspiring. She has a book. I love the book that she's written. We
Yeah.
talked about like not everybody can have a career counselor, but this book that she has written can help anyone for, a few dollars. You can read the book and sort of set yourself up to elevate your career or relationships, whatever it is you're trying to do. So yeah, this was a good one. If you need some help with finding a job, this might be your place.
And finding your joy. Finding your joy.
Finding your joy.
The world is a lot right now. Are you feeling it? We all need new tools to help us walk through the chaos with grace, ease, and compassion for each other and for ourselves. In this podcast, you'll hear from parents, educators, and other experts who can bring perspective to the monumental job of parenting. It's time to level up and be warriors for our kids and our communities. This is the Warrior Parent Podcast. I'm Marci Mitchell.
And I'm Debbie DiManno. As parents, we understand that it really does take a village to raise our kids. We hope that this podcast serves to create and support that community for you. Join us as we discuss and practice our core tools, which are proven mind-body techniques that can be used by anyone to improve your life on a daily basis.
Welcome back to the Warrior Parent Podcast. We are so glad you're joining us. And today we are speaking with Helen Horyza, who is an award-winning author and founder of the Career Coach Entrepreneurial Academy. It's a level 1 ICF accredited live virtual coaching school. Helen holds a Master's of Science degree in career counseling from California State University, Sacramento, Stingers Up, and is a professionally trained coach through Coach Training International. If you are curious about Helen's work, pick up her book, Elevate Your Career, Live a Life You're Proud of. Man, that sounds awesome. Who doesn't want to be proud of their life? You can also find Helen on YouTube or just search for her name. She's here to elevate your career. So welcome, Helen. We are excited to have you here today.
Thank you. I was thrilled to be here.
Wow, this is going to be fun. So we just learned that Helen has been doing this coaching for more than 30 years. So we're going to learn a few things here today, and hopefully she can elevate some ideas on perhaps how you can elevate yourself, and maybe not just even your career, but relationships, just elevate yourself in general as a
All
human
the stuff.
being. Yeah, all the things. So Helen, give us a little background. How did you come to, first of all, I guess, get your master's in this, and then go on to be this 30-year coach?
So I did a really good job of having a 26-year-old crisis. And I think, that whole, what do I want to be? Who do I want to be? Who do I want to be with? I think we don't appreciate the difficulties of those years, of the 25 to 31-ish.
Yeah.
And I was in a clerical job, doing a really terrible job. And I hated it. And I wanted to be a counselor, but it seemed like a million miles away. Like, how would I ever afford it? Am I smart enough to get a master's degree? So to make a long story short, I made my way from the Silicon Valley where I was working to this place called Sacramento. It turned out being incredibly affordable, and had this university that I got into. And as soon as I got into my first, at that time it was called counseling, I now refer to as coaching, but it was like, wow, this is it. And I don't know that I'm glad I'm a career coach who had that moment, because it's hard to believe it's possible. And I've done a lot of different things since that moment arrived, but I found my home.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. What a wonderful moment to do something and just have that, yes, this is it moment. It's interesting that you talk about your crisis at 26, because we like to talk about how the brain is cooking until you're 25. It's still developing. So it's kind of like, okay, your brain's done, and now you're like, oh, now what do I do? Now what's next? And I think that's
or
very
is this
relatable.
it? Which I think is a very scary feeling if you're not doing well. I was not doing well. They threw a party when I left. Seriously, champagne. Go. You're a nice person, but that's the only thing that we like about you. Just go.
But bye-bye.
Wow.
Bye-bye.
Don't
And
let the door hit you in the butt on the way
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so
So yeah,
funny.
you're absolutely right, though. I do think it's a combination of brain. I don't know. I'm not an expert in brain maturity, but that makes so much sense to me. And then I think
Mhm.
also the soul's yearning to
Yes.
Yes.
be
Yes.
purposeful and to be successful. There's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with feeling confident and feeling like you're doing something you're
Yeah.
good at.
Yes.
I feel like that's kind of what's going on in the world right now. Especially there's a lot of discussion around young men and really struggling to find their purpose, and they're sort of acting out. They're angry. They feel like they can't get the jobs that they want. There's a lot of people speaking out about this right now. So, what do you think about that? What do you see in the industry? Who are these people who are showing up to be coached by you?
So I'm thinking of a current client, happens to be a 28-year-old male, and one of my favorite humans I've ever met. I mean, what a bright star,
Yeah.
but terrible confidence problems. And
Mm.
have very much had that, first job's not rewarding, and
Mhm.
doesn't really believe that he can be happy and that there's a career for him. And so what I would say, if there's a mom out there, or there's a young person who's feeling that way, or you're a young woman trying to date some of these men that
Mhm.
aren't doing well, and you're looking for a really good, high functioning human, I think a really great place to start is helping these men and women and humans know who they are. What do
Yes.
they value? What do you enjoy doing? Not what are you good at? Because by the way, you can get really good at stuff you don't like to do. What's your temperament? What's your interest pattern? And what that does is it begins to build the ego strength that's
Mhm.
missing, and validate that they are uniquely capable. And those are powerful messages.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. Marci and I have adult children, and so they're all at different stages of all of these things. But the
Yeah.
world is just it's so different. And we talk about this all the time, but the world is so different than it was when, say, I was going to college, right? I was going to college in the 80s, and you picked a career and then you just worked hard. And if you wanted to be really good at it, you just worked harder and faster and smarter than everyone else. And you did fine. You graduated from college and you certainly could get a good job. And, you may waffle on your career and make a couple of changes or whatever, but you were pretty much guaranteed that there was a road ahead for you, that you were going to be able to pay your student loans and you were going to be able to do those things, right? That's not so true anymore, right? So you can see the frustration in these, young adults right now when we house some of those, right?
Right, they come back. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yes.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's a two-sided coin, going all the way back to I was the last child of four girls in a Catholic family. So
Mm.
my parents were much older. And so my dad worked, my mom didn't, right? I mean, that
Mhm.
whole thing.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I watched my father stay with a job he hated to provide
Mm.
for a family, not allow my mother to work, because she would have been much, much more effective. So that's the other side of the coin. The leave it to beaver thing isn't
Yes.
always everything it was stacked up to be, and he didn't feel like he had choices. Now we have the other problem, choice psychology being there's too many choices.
Yeah.
Mm.
And
Interesting.
so it's overwhelming. And,
Yeah.
telling these young people, you can do whatever you want. It's like, well, what's that? It's too
Yes.
Right.
vast. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
so I'm glad they have choices. I'm glad that they can make changes. And some kids, some young humans do really well with that. Others just
Mhm.
find it overwhelming.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so again, a path, a process, a step by step, very much rooted in, I'm a very big fan of who are you? How
Yeah.
at what point have you shed what your culture told you, what your parents told you, what your peers are doing, and you have started to own who you are?
Yeah.
That is so, so important, so relevant, because we don't necessarily get that instruction as part of our education, who are you and what it's more like, here's how you do this, here's how you do this. This is, you're going to do this and then you're going to do that. And I'm especially interested in that when you're talking about the young man with the lack of confidence, who you see the brightness in, you see, but they don't see it. So how do you help them to shed the negative images, the hopelessness, and really start to build the confidence and talk a little bit about what that looks like?
Yeah, and I sometimes wonder why I do this work, because it is so hard. It's not, there's not a switch, there's not a single
Yeah.
switch. So one of the things that I think helps a lot is giving the individual a first step that's not overwhelming. So, for example, this gentleman is a natural performer. He's completely unafraid of public speaking. And very drawn to TED Talks. And so I happen to have a really good friend who coaches the TEDx program.
Yeah.
So he's going to volunteer. And I want to put him in an atmosphere where he's breathing the stuff that he loves, and realize, people do this, that there's maybe it's not in, okay, so training and development. Let's look at where people make money delivering these kinds of messages. And then I just finished real quickly that I rewrote his resume for him, kind of without asking, because sometimes you just sort of need to show them who they are.
Yes.
And he's gone a little quiet on me, and I'm going to see him on Monday, and I'm a little nervous. I might have pushed too hard. He made him uncomfortable. And yet I'm just being very vulnerable here. There's not.
Well, that's part of the growth,
guarantee.
right? You got to get a little uncomfortable. And yeah, there's your piece that you don't, I feel like no matter what happens, you've done what this next step is, and whether he comes back to you or he has to go and live with that a little bit, there's going to be benefit for him when he's ready to receive it.
I hope so. I think one of the things that we do, and I did it too. I remember being in college and being told networking was important, and I was like, I don't want to ask strangers for help. Our stories, right? The stories that we come up with can be pretty unhelpful when you're younger. And I have a feeling this gentleman may have felt like the resume was an inaccurate reflection or overblown.
Overreach.
Right. And so anyway, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So I am into Enneagrams. Do you know anything about the Enneagrams?
Very little.
Yeah, so there's sort of behavioral tests. There's sort of like, it's a little bit of, it's kind of a roadmap actually for people to help to understand sort of their life's journey from maybe from even like a soul's perspective, right? And so my husband has a large company, and so I've just finished training about, I don't know, 60 or 70 of his employees. And it sort of gives them a lens through how they see the world. Right. So, but it's just these provocative questions that you ask, like they've never thought of before. Like, how do I see the world? Like, I've never thought about that. Why do I do the things they do or I do? Why do I have these patterns? Why do I keep doing the same thing? I'm getting stuck in this loop, and I do the same thing over and over and over again. And then ultimately it helps them sort of realize why they do the things they do. And then it also helps them to look at how they want to evolve as a human being. Right. And so there are quite a few tiers in these groups, and this is like a work thing, right? So they're among their peers, and they're sort of letting things out. And one of the things that I ask them is, what brings you joy? Right. It's sort of the same concept that you're asking, like, what are you good at? What do you love to do? But when I ask them, what brings you joy? They kind of have this deer in the headlights look, like they're not even quite sure. They're so busy with all the noise and everyone telling them what to do that they haven't stopped to actually think about that. Right. And that comes about through all kinds of tools, through journaling, through probably processes that you have to help them come to realize these things. Right. But I think, like you said, like, you're giving people some guardrails. I think overwhelm is what I see from so many humans right now.
Right. What gives you joy, and what are you doing when you lose track of time?
I
Yes,
love that
that's
one.
a good one.
I love that
Yes,
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
for sure.
But to be a little skeptical, that might be a video game, or it might be,
Exactly.
something that doesn't feel very employable, or, that's why I think that the idea of hors d'oeuvres, being able to go hang out at a TEDx because you like public speaking, if you are interested in doing humanitarian work, what kind of volunteer jobs can we go to?
Yes.
And one of the things I'm really excited about in this day and age is, what YouTube could you go watch and learn about that thing, or what short course could you take, or what certificate could you invest in? There's a lot of ways to take a small step, which I think is helpful.
Or what podcast could you listen to?
Or what podcast could you listen to, right? Exactly, right?
Yeah, there's a lot to be learned from a podcast these days, right?
Hey, we just wanted to take a quick moment to tell you about something very exciting that Debbie and I and our team have been working on for literally years. And that is our Cour Tools app, which is now available at the Google Play Store and at the Apple Store. And you can sign up for it now, and you will get access to all the tools we've been talking about on the podcast.
And if you're an early adopter of Cour Tools, you can get a VIP price for $49 for a lifetime. That's
Lifetime.
right. That's
Buy it once, and we'll keep updating it too.
Yes. So we're super excited about this. Go to Apple Store, go to Google Play, and purchase it now.
Cour Tools, COUR, capital TOOLS.
Go get it.
I love that idea of the small steps, because when we talk about the overwhelm, if you can just look at what's next, what's the next thing I could do, and I find that shows up in so many ways. When you look at something and it's completely overwhelming, whether it's what am I going to do for my career? I just bought this fixer home and it's a mess. Where do I start? Or whatever the thing is. How do I want to go to Europe? That feels completely, how can I afford a trip? But when you start with that, what's one step I could take? One thing that I could do towards that? I find that is obviously it's much more manageable, and then it leads you down the path. Like every step, every journey begins with that first step. So just taking that step. I sold real estate for a number of years, and I used to always say to people who were like, "Oh, someday I want to buy, but I can't afford," or I would say, and not all agents do this, but I like doing this. I would say, let's go look at some houses. Let's just go look at some stuff. And then it's going to shift something for you. You're either going to be like, oh no, that's not what I want, or this isn't what I was thinking. And it's amazing how many people in those situations where they don't feel at all ready, they haven't done any of the work, but you just maybe go look at a house or two, and suddenly they're like, oh, that's exactly what I want. How do I make this happen? And then it all just falls into place. So the power of that first step, I think, is really something to consider and to go for, to find it and just take it. And sometimes it's a step and then you're like, nope, that is not for me. And then you step in a different direction. So
right.
It's information.
There's not too much to lose at that point, right?
Right. It's just information. And I try to tell that to my kids too, especially I have a son who sounds a little bit like your 28-year-old, and I'll say, so you try something and you didn't like it. That's okay. It's not a failure. It's information that you gain that this isn't for you, whether it's a class or an event you went to or whatever.
The other day, I also coach people who are employed in business coaching, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And this woman got on the call and she's like, oh, I'm so disorganized, and I just can't function because there's just this process and that process. And so, the cousin to overwhelm is disorganized. And I took a risk and I said, go with me. I said, take a deep breath if you wouldn't mind, and just check it out. Where is that in your body? And she was not an airy fairy person.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, well, what have I got to lose? And she said, it's in my stomach. And I said, okay, all right. I said, and I didn't spend a lot of time with that. But at the end of the session, that was what she went to. That was what got her from disorganized, overwhelmed to calm, was the word that she used. And so, I guess I'm not only for those who are listening, it's like, well, okay, I don't know what the first step is. Well, then find out where it is in your body. Let's go even simpler. and calm down, because the anxiety that goes with feeling stuck is so intense that it blocks your creativity and resourcefulness. And
So
so
true.
we need to bring it down.
Yeah. That's why I think if you're ever looking at that, what's my first step? What you just said, take a breath. Take a
Yes.
breath is always a great first step, because it will slow your nervous system. It will help to take you out of that spinning up thing where you're just getting crazier and crazier, and just take a moment and breathe, and then be like, okay, and then things will come in, because you won't be in such a state of anxiety, fear, resistance, that nothing can get in, that there's just noise. There's noise in front of your receptors when you are allowed to calm, when you allow yourself to calm. Now there's space for something to drop in. So
And I just
that's
want to,
always my first step.
emphasize, because it was such a breakthrough to me. I read this book when I was about 26 called Career Cycles, and it was very simple. And it basically said that when you're in this unknown space, it's a space of fear. And I was like, oh my God, I am not uniquely broken. Like, this is not my bad thing,
Yeah.
And so, just to say, for anyone who's out there and they don't know what's next, or they feel stuck, or they hate what they're doing, or blah, 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 and you by nature, that is an anxiety producing situation. And so
Yeah.
the fear can't be a stop. The fear is,
Mm.
oh, okay, that's the path.
Yes.
And then you can also start walking, because you can't take the first step because you're too afraid. And so I just wanted to
Right.
elaborate a little bit
Right.
that another great book that I never read was Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, because
Yeah.
your anxiety says no, and
Mm-hmm.
that's going to slow you down.
Yeah, or shut you down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. And when you think about that, two things about that space where you don't know what's next, and fear creeps in. First of all, it's a space. To me, I think of it as, if you can get here, I'm almost 60 years old, so it took me a while to get here. I wasn't here at 26, but if you can know that that's the space where something's going to come in, something good, you can almost get excited, like, oh boy, I'm feeling fear, I'm feeling anxiety, I'm feeling stuck. That means I'm meant to do something bigger. I'm meant to go higher. So that's exciting. So if I can have some hope, have some anticipation. And then the other piece is, like you were saying, you're in that fear, and you're in a space that's not fun. Well, that's not where you want to live. So I know someone used to say, don't build a condo in hell. You're there, keep walking. Like, this is not where you want to stay. You want to keep walking, and you're like, oh, this sucks, but you keep putting that, because that's not where you want to stay. You want to move. So you stay open, you keep putting that foot, and then you're gonna go through it. Sometimes that's the only way through it, is through it. Like, sometimes you just got to walk through that stuff, and then build your condo on the other side, in the great, in the new, in the wonderful.
In a new
Yeah.
neighborhood. Yeah.
Yes, a better neighborhood.
Yes. Yeah.
Location, location, location.
Speaking from a real estate agent.
Yes.
Yeah. So, hey, there's something I want to ask you about. So, as I mentioned, my husband has a large company, employs tens of thousands of people. And so they're always, there's recruiters and all these people, and they're always looking for, people who are out there and, looking for change a job or whatever. But this term, emotional intelligence, comes up a lot. And we've had some conversations about it. And so there's a lot of thought out there about, oh, well, these folks over here, they're just born with this sort of emotional intelligence. And then there are these people over here who have none, and we're not going to hire them. So I from a coach's perspective, I know that that's not true. So talk about first of all, some of the components of being emotionally intelligent, and then how you can help someone with their EI or emotional intelligence.
So let's walk back a little bit to somewhat related to the Enneagram, but a little simpler. Back in about 400 BC, we discovered temperament. Okay, so there's 4 temperaments. And one of the ways I like to overlay those two ideas is, what is the emotional intelligence that is unique to you? Not as a vast concept of you have it or you don't.
Yeah.
So if I'm looking to hire someone to do a job as an analyst, I want someone who has really good objectivity and an ability to be very incisive and very detail oriented, that's probably not a counselor.
Right.
Probably not
Right.
a person who is going to be super oriented towards socialization.
Yeah, they
Do
don't have
we
a lot of
then conclude that
self-aware.
that person has no emotional intelligence? No, they
Yeah.
have emotional intelligence that's suited to their own temperament.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I like to look at that a little bit, and I get a little crazy when people will look at men as mostly logical and women as mostly emotional. I think that's
Yeah.
also very confusing and not very helpful.
Yes.
So what's the point? I really think that anybody can learn how to be more effective interpersonally. I don't
Yeah.
think you're born with it, to get back to, kind of what you said, Debbie. I think you can learn it. And I think, not treating everyone as a prototype or as a single concept, but being very curious about what their gifts are. What am I looking for this person to do? And don't expect them to be the belle of the ball in every possible way.
Right.
They're going to be good at these things. I'm really, really good at listening. I'm ridiculous,
Yeah.
but I'm terrible with math. I mean, so don't put me in a bookkeeping job, They
Yes.
gave me
Right.
champagne when I left. Don't put me back there again. So long-winded way to say, I really think it's a customized conversation about emotional intelligence and valuing what kind of intelligence they have and building on
Yes.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's,
exactly.
self-awareness. These are some of the things they talk about: self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills or communication, right? So they're like, that really is the heart of what you're looking for an employee, right? But that
Mhm.
doesn't mean, like, we all have some of those things that are, like you said, way better in, or people who are way better in some areas than they are in others, right? And if they're
Yeah.
just struggling in something, because you do need to communicate in the workplace, right? There are ways that you can improve that. There are classes you can take.
Mhm.
There are things you
Mhm.
can do, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's something that because I grew up in Southern California in the 70s, they were teaching social emotional learning as part of, it was just standard in the schools, which I didn't know it was so special to be there, but learning empathy, learning how to, relationship building and those kinds of things. And there's effort to bring that back in stronger into schools, and there's been resistance to it, and that comes from ignorance of what it is, I believe. But it's such an important skill to, and it starts immediately. It starts at birth, just picking up a baby when they're crying, knowing safety. So I truly hope that we see more of that coming back and stronger, and not just in California, but in other states too. Teaching social emotional learning, teaching kids how to respond. One of the things that I heard that I found so interesting, from a parenting standpoint, is you're with your toddler at the park, and you see your toddler hit or push or knock down another toddler. And this is like every parent's nightmare, right? Because we're like, oh God, not my kid. I want my kid to be the perfect one. But one of the ways to respond that I heard someone talking about a way to do this was, instead of going to your toddler and saying, no, we don't hit, or that was bad, or why'd you do that, or what's wrong with you, God forbid, you go to the other toddler and you say, oh no, are you okay? That must have hurt. And you show them empathy and you connect with them. And then your toddlers are like, oh, mommy's giving attention to that. And they're trying to help. And that sparks the empathy in them. So just from such a very young age, starting to teach these social emotional skills will provide us with what we call it in our nonprofit, tools for life. These are tools you'll use for the rest of your life, and they will make you more connected, more effective, probably more successful in your career, but also in your relationships and in your child, parenting, or all the things you do with your friends, because you'll be that person who is able to look outward as someone else and say, hey, what's going on, or listen, like you do, Helen, or without trying to fix, or all of these skills. These are skills, and we should be building them.
Yeah.
This is how we show up in the world.
So I am afraid we're almost out of time, but Helen, you wrote a book. Elevate Your Career. Is that right? Is that the title of the book?
Mhm.
Yep. So tell us a little bit about your book, about how people can find it, about how people can find you, perhaps work with you.
Work with you. Yeah.
So Elevate Your Career, Live a Life You're Truly Proud of, really was my effort to give anybody a resource that they could use to step by step determine who they are, what they want, how to get it. And I invented an assessment called Elevations. It's a career assessment, and I made a decision. Because I want to help as many people as possible, I put a code in the back of the book so the reader can then take the assessment while they're reading the book, so then they get the whole package. So that's a really, really good, simple way to get started. And then, I mean, my YouTube channel, my website, helenhoryza.com, there's a lot of different ways to get in touch with me if people want more help. I think there needs to be more accessible information, like a career assessment that doesn't have to be administered by a professional,
Yes.
that anybody can access and understand, and it only costs like $40. That's really something that the world needs. And then if you can afford a coach, that's fantastic. Yeah, it helps. But you don't need to have a coach to figure out what you want to do with your life.
Where do
Wow.
people find that book? Is that on Amazon, or where do you get
Yeah,
it?
Amazon, Barnes and Noble.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Support your local bookstore if you can.
Yes.
Grab that book. That's awesome, Helen. Thank you so much. What a great conversation.
It's been fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, warrior moms. As we started this podcast, we had determined that part of what we were going to do is to create a community. So we have decided to take it to another level, and we have started our own Facebook community in addition to the Warrior Parent Podcast, and it's called
From Chaos to Calm, a sanctuary for moms. Here's what it looks like. It's on Facebook right now. Please go and join it. And just to let you know, we're going to create our Blue Sky accounts right now. We're getting prepared as we watch this weird stuff go on in America. So we may be shifting the whole group to Blue Sky. Just be aware that we got you. You're going to start here. If this turns out to be not a safe place anymore on Facebook, then we will shift over. But what we're creating is a safe space where moms can show up and get information, get support, talk to each other about the things you're going through with your kids, the things you went through with your kids, maybe get some advice from moms, but also other experts. We're going to invite all of our guests and experts to join the group. I hope you will too. This is a place where you can show up and be seen and be heard and be safe. Mom's got you.
Nobody trusts anyone more than moms. So let's do this.
And now for your core mental health break. This is your opportunity to take a moment to support your mental wellness, your peace of mind, your own ease and grace. Take some time every day to support your mental health. You deserve it, and it matters.
Today's journaling prompt is a good one, and it is, I am so grateful for. Gratitude is a practice that will magnetize that which we want and bring more of it to us. So take out your journal, take out a piece of paper, use your phone, and write these words, I am so grateful for, and then just start filling in all the things you're grateful for. Keep writing, keep letting it come through. Enjoy your journaling.
Thanks for listening to the Warrior Parent Podcast, which is a production of our nonprofit, Cour Experience, who also creates and distributes Cour tools. You can find us at courexperience.org. Make sure you join us next week for another informative conversation to help you and your family show up mindfully, purposefully, and joyfully with each other and in your community.
Our Cour Tools platform consists of a number of proven tools and techniques that are designed to reduce stress, anxiety, and overwhelm in spite of what's going on in your world. We want to thank Samuel Hale, LLC, for sponsoring this podcast. Technical and marketing support comes from Inspire Your Brand. Our podcast editor is Justin Beeden. Opinions expressed by guests do not necessarily reflect those of the hosts, the producers, or the financial supporters. I'm Debbie DiManno.
And I'm Marci Mitchell. Thanks for listening. If you resonate with the idea of creating a community to help support kids and families, won't you join us by following the podcast and sharing this episode? You can even write a review. It truly does take a village, and we appreciate you.